This is a building and unboxing video of Teclis, the Archmage of the Lumineth. Hey, this is 60 Goblins in one brush, and today is the day, finally. We've waited for 9 months, and now it's here.
The Teclis model.
I would have preferred him to arrive on Friday or Saturday, because then I would have had the weekend to build this guy. But as we have been told, Teclis never arrives late, nor does he arrive early. He arrives precisely when he means to. So in my case, he meant to arrive today, and I'm very glad. Here, very cool blue. I love these boxes. And we're going to unbox him today and build him today, spray him, and do some size comparisons. I have some nice models for size comparison. I'm really looking forward to see how detailed, how beautiful, and how large he is. Let's have a look. Okay. The menu. And then sprue number 1 with lots of wings, lots and lots of wings, the staff, the cape, huge cape, look at this here, huge cape, lots of wing parts, very interesting. I think this will be very different kind of wings than we ever had before. And then, mostly terrain, tail, horns. The body, look at this tiny body of Selena. And here Teclis, okay, not so large, but the terrain, huge. Thinking about copying this with green stuff before I glue it together. Really beautiful. The terrain is already quite beautiful, and then we have the base, the big base. That's the biggest one you have. That's the one for the spider or for the great unclean one. There's no bigger one. There's always a disadvantage, of course, to have such a big base. Recently I played a game with 3 great unclean ones. There's a special war scroll battalion, and it was really difficult to maneuver through that terrain. Luckily Teclis can fly, but still he has to be able to land somewhere. Okay, so how long do you think this will take? The Spirit of the Mountain took me 1.5 hours. Now this looks like I could manage below 1.5 hours. I hope it will not take more than 1 hour, because it's already quite late. But I wanted to at least start today. Let's see if I can finish. That's a very thick menu. That's the rules in all kinds of language. Lots of terrain. Half of the 2 pages about how to build Teclis. 2 pages on how to build Selena, and a lot of pages how to build the terrain, the base. Okay, let's see. See you in a moment, on an hour, when I build this guy. The dude, the master of disaster. Okay, break number 1. If you think this guy looks fragile, you have no idea how fragile he is. The main body is quite okay. Takes a while until you assemble the helmet. It's a really weird helmet. It takes a while. But the weirdest thing is this. The sword scabbard with some wavy scrolls or pieces of cloth behind it. They're so thin. One of them broke off just by snipping it out of the sprue. I didn't even do anything. I just unclipped it out of the sprue in the wrong order, and just unclipping it. I didn't clip it through, just unclipping it, it broke. Okay, I was able to glue it again, but look at this here. This is super tiny, this piece here. It's screaming to break off. And then the cape. This is the biggest cape ever. I mean, maybe not. Nagash has a huge cape, and Celestant Prime, but this is a beautiful cape, really, really big. And of course, there are two parts again. I hate making capes from several parts. Always looks strange. You can see here, but of course, this you cannot do in one piece. So it's beautiful, but you have to be super, super careful when you snip these things out of the frame and afterwards cleaning them with your cutter. Very, very careful. Okay, it took me half an hour. It took me half an hour to build Teclis alone. This must be one of the most difficult models to build. Not because something is not fitting. It fits perfectly. Everything is so exact it fits on every half millimeter. Wonderful how the parts fit together. In the old days, the parts didn't fit together. That's not the problem here. Everything fits perfectly, and if you see the cape, even if it's made in a way that you can glue it on already and you don't have to paint it separately, which used to be the case in previous models with big capes. You couldn't paint the inside of the cape after gluing it together. Now this is all perfect. You can still reach everything after building it. And here you see there's one little or two little nooks where you can attach the model to Selenar. So this is very well made. At 4 points the cape is sticking to Teclis, and the cape then is attached to Selenar. But what's difficult is all these little things that are hanging around, and I will show you a close-up of all the little ropes. Look how incredibly thin these ropes are. They're even thinner than they look on this picture. Everything is maximum 1 millimeter. The slightest pressure can break them. For all the little ropes, the amulets hang down from, and they are so thin. There's a double amulet, and the ropes that join the double amulets, they broke just from touching them. They broke. So I mean, fortunately, it's all possible to glue it back together, but it takes a while. It takes getting used to. First impression of Selenar, he's tiny. Apart from the huge tail, he's tiny. I think I made a joke once about Selenar and the Chaos Sphinx looking a little bit alike. The Chaos Llama, because they're both sphinxes, so it does make sense. But I thought Selenar would be 2 or 3 times the size of the Chaos Llama. He's not. It's exactly the same size. Really, exactly. Very strange. Let's have a look at the wings. So the wings are designed in a very new way, very three-dimensional, like the wing of an airplane. It's not one part, but several parts. Here there's a top part and a lower part. It fit together like this, and then those kind of wings, they fit in here. Very good idea. Very easy to build, and they look very, very lifelike. You almost think this is a kind of a bird wing that you found on the street and somehow got plastified by time. Or maybe the bird ate too much plastic, I don't know. But it looks very lifelike. So here's the second wing, also really beautiful. Very well done. The wings are amazing. Amazing. Beautiful. At the same time, the wings are also the back of the beast. So once you glue the wings on, you have the back as well. And it already looks much bigger. The wings. Let's have a look later if these wings are larger or smaller than that of the Taurolon. And here we can already see the gap where Teclis' cape will fit in later. Is this model a masterpiece of art and design? Yes. Is it fun to put it together, to build it? I'm not sure. It's more like some psycho terror, actually. It's like a thriller. You really don't want to make mistakes on a $170 model. Yeah? I finally managed to cut a piece off while clipping it out of the sprue that wasn't for cutting off a little part of the earrings here. But again, I managed to glue it back together. So it's repairable, but you're always afraid to make mistakes here, at least I am. Once you put it together, it's clear, but in the beginning, so the head and the neck, they consist of 8 parts. 8 parts, only this year. Without the horns even. The horns are masterpieces by themselves, but they have a serious mold line problem. There's a lot of scraping you have to do. And the staff as well, the wizard staff. As well, you have to scrape off the mold lines. Wonderful, the head. This is an example of that the model is much more beautiful in real life than on the pictures. You cannot convey this level of detail on the pictures. Wow. So the collar is the last thing you put on Selena, and that's again a part here. You can almost not see any of this. It's so tiny. You really have to be careful not to cut or break anything off. Okay, that took me almost an hour, I think. A little bit less than an hour. It's amazing how well these parts fit together, but I broke out in sweat a few times here. Just like with Teclis. So Teclis half an hour, this one 3/4 of an hour if you're fast. And now there's still the terrain left. Here another quick comparison with the Chaos Sphinx. Very similar size apart from the wings and the tail. Fortunately, the terrain is super easy to build. Just 4 pieces makes this big thing. Wonderful terrain. Reminds me a little bit of the Eidolon of Matlan with all this coral and fish at the bottom. By the way, while grabbing the Eidolon of Matlan, I just knocked over the Stone Mage and the Mountain Spirit, and they fell down and nothing broke off. So those are not very fragile. Good to know. Once the big thing is glued to the base, the gardening starts. All the little bonsai trees here and stalks of wheat that are left. Let's see how long that takes. Bonsai trees are little masterpieces in and of themselves. I want to buy those. I want to have them as terrain feature pieces to buy. It's really a pity that you can't buy these mountains that they had in the beginning and the teasers in the background with these little bonsais growing on them. I want them. Damn wheat growing everywhere. It really takes a while to put all these bushels and stalks in place. And later I will add some grass and rimstone, of course, some Aetherquarz. Don't forget the Aetherquarz basing challenge, where you can win a Stone Mage or a Scenary Cathala. Okay, now we have the 3 parts. Selena, Teclis, and the base. And now let's put them together and spray them. I guess you could, if you wanted to, paint them separately and then put them together, which would be the smart thing to do. But that's what they expect me to do, so I won't do it. Okay, that's Selena on the ruins. Looks very impressive. And now Teclis. Okay, so the level of detail of this model is just breathtaking again. No words. Really, really something new. We've never had that before. It's smaller than I thought. It appears larger on the ruins. Without the base, it's quite small. But I mean, all these little things. Every little rune and etching and crease and angle. Wow, quite something. Let's braid and then do some size comparisons. Good motto. I couldn't finish yesterday evening. I stopped at midnight. It took me about 3 hours to finish Teclis, but he's beautiful. I think if you're really fast you can manage in 2 hours, but with the little breaks to show you the little treacherous details you have to take care of. It took me 3 hours. Also, you can't really build him fast because there's so many bits where you have to be super careful not to do any mistakes. And I lost track of time, but somewhere between 2 and 3 hours it took me. Now I sprayed him. He already got some rain. It's really difficult to spray anything on the balcony these days because it's raining all the time. Okay, let's do some size comparisons. Don't have all my models here, but many. Here a Stonehorn, for example. Looks much smaller because of this 3-tier level here. First the big ruins, then Selena, and then Teclis on top. So he appears quite large. Similar than Nagash. He's also not that big, but with all these ghosts swirling around him. Unfortunately, I don't have him here now. One model that is for sure much bigger is Archaon on Dorga. It's massive. 2 or 3 times the size. Then let's see. Here, an undead beast. Similar in size. Let's stay with the undead for now. I have Archon here, much smaller. And the shrine. Not so small. Then what I really want to try out is the Torolon. I wanted to use the Torolon as a proxy first. I didn't want to buy that Teclis. And the wings, yeah, I thought the Torolon wings, they're longer. They're not necessarily bigger, but they're longer. It's also a beautiful model. Torolon has a similar size than the Sphinx, but of course there's no Teclis on top, and the ruins are different size. Oh, with all these winged creatures, it's tricky. Some Seraphon for comparison. Then I have the old Falcon. Much smaller. And one of the biggest models, apart from Archaon, is of course, my god, my whole table is full here. One of the biggest models, apart from Archaon, of course, is the Star Dragon. This is much bigger. The Star Dragon is also about the same size than the Maw Crusher. Star Dragon used to be the biggest model, used to be the most expensive model before Teclis came along. But because Teclis is kind of floating above Selena, he's still taller. I've been thinking a lot about this posture here with the legs. It's a kind of a magneto levitation thing. On the picture, he has kind of one leg up, one knee up, which looks cooler. But of course, why would you do that? If you could levitate, if you could fly, why would you put one leg up only because it looks cooler? Probably not. So this is a more relaxed posture, just like relaxed, floating up. Quite aloof. So I think it's actually more realistic. Then Aetherquarz, much smaller. Then a Tree Lord, Durthu, much smaller. Then my Alarielle is not finished, but it's about the same size. Yeah, it's also the beetle is huge, and then you have Alarielle standing on top of the beetle. So this is very similar in size. Then some of his own guys, the Mountain Spirit. The Stone Mage. Then of course you want to see some Idoneth, the Eidolon of Mathlan, similar. Then the turtle. Also similar in size. Then Morethi, another elven god. Now we have 2 elven gods so far, 2 of 4. Smaller. Then I'm starting my Fire Slayer's army so that so I have a Toro, so I have a Magmadroth. Hard to compare because it's so low and long. And then I don't have all my 4 greater demons here, but I have 2. Actually, it would be nice to see it in comparison with the Great Unclean One, but it's not here right now. So this is actually not so small. And Archaon on Dorga is much bigger. It's at least twice the size of the Bloodthirster. So this is comparable. And last but not least, the Lord of Change, which is also a winged creature. So far, I think he has the biggest wings of all. Yeah, if you have a wing comparison here. Yeah, no, the Maw Crusher and the Star Dragon have the biggest wings, but afterwards it's the Lord of Change. Well, actually, it's not so much difference. Yeah, it's also a beautiful model, this. Really like it. Okay, so Teclis. It's not so much fun to build because you have to be so super careful, but everything fits together perfectly. Beauty-wise, it's astounding, astonishing, stupefying. It's so much detail. It's really one of the most beautiful models, and you see it in this and all the other Lumineth characters and units as well. Games Workshop has reached a new level that has never been there before. It's a new era of modeling. Price-wise, yeah, that's probably what goes with it. If you have this minute detail and everything fits perfectly, and that's probably what you have to pay for. Size-wise, in combination, all 3 objects, so to say, they seem quite large, so it's fine. Otherwise, I would have thought the Sphinx was much larger. Let's see how this will be to paint. I guess it won't be so bad after all. Teclis maybe, and the whole neck head part of the Sphinx, but the rest is probably easy to paint. Okay, tell me what you think. I'll show you some pictures at the end of the video. Close-up pictures. Thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, thank you for joining me on Patreon and recommending the videos to your friends, and see you soon with more Aetherquarz spacing videos.